The Age of Exploration marked a significant period in world history, during which European powers embarked on voyages of discovery, seeking new trade routes and territories. Among the renowned explorers of this era, Vasco da Gama stands as a prominent figure, known for his pioneering voyage around the Cape of Good Hope to India in 1498. While his expedition is often celebrated for its navigational achievements, it is essential to critically examine the atrocities and consequences of Vasco da Gama's actions in his quest for power and wealth. This video will delve into the dark side of Vasco da Gama's legacy, shedding light on the cruelties and injustices he perpetrated in the name of exploration and colonization. Vasco da Gama's journey to India was motivated primarily by economic interests. During the 15th century, European nations, particularly Portugal, were eager to establish direct trade routes to the lucrative spice markets of Asia. At that time, the Venetians dominated the spice trade, and European powers sought alternatives to reduce their reliance on Venetian intermediaries. Vasco da Gama's mission was to find a sea route to India that would bypass the Ottoman-controlled land routes and open a direct maritime path for Portuguese traders. Before reaching India, Vasco da Gama's voyage led him to the African coast. It was in Africa that the first atrocities associated with his expedition occurred. Da Gama and his crew exploited the local African populations, engaging in brutal practices such as coercion, intimidation, and violence to secure supplies and navigate their way along the coast. This early pattern of exploitation and oppression would foreshadow the cruelties that would unfold on their journey. Upon reaching the shores of India in 1498, Vasco da Gama's interactions with the local rulers and inhabitants took a turn for the worse. One of the most notorious incidents associated with his expedition was the massacre at Calicut, modern-day Kozhikode. Da Gama arrived in Calicut with the intent of establishing trade relations, but when negotiations failed to meet his expectations, he resorted to extreme measures. The Portuguese, under his command, ruthlessly attacked and plundered the city, leaving a trail of death and destruction. This act of violence sent shockwaves throughout the region, cementing Vasco da Gama's legacy as a ruthless conqueror. Religion played a significant role in Vasco da Gama's interactions with the indigenous peoples of India. The Portuguese expedition was deeply intertwined with the religious fervor of the time, as da Gama and his crew were staunch Catholics. Their mission was not only to establish trade routes, but also to spread Christianity. However, their approach to religious conversion was often coercive and violent. Indigenous populations were forced to convert to Christianity, under the threat of violence or other punitive measures. This religious persecution led to further animosity between the Portuguese and the local communities, exacerbating the atrocities committed by da Gama and his men. The atrocities committed by Vasco da Gama and his crew had devastating consequences for the indigenous populations of India. The violence, forced conversion, and exploitation led to the loss of lives, cultural heritage, and social cohesion among the affected communities. The Portuguese intrusion disrupted existing trade networks and led to economic hardships for many local merchants and traders. Additionally, the introduction of European diseases, to which the indigenous populations had no immunity, further decimated their numbers. Vasco da Gama's expedition to India laid the foundation for Portuguese colonization in the Indian subcontinent. His voyage marked the beginning of a period of European colonialism in Asia that would last for centuries. The Portuguese established a network of forts and trading posts along the Indian coast, creating a system of economic and political domination that would have enduring consequences for the region. Furthermore, Vasco da Gama's actions set a precedent for future European colonial powers, who would also employ ruthless tactics in their pursuit of wealth and power. The legacy of exploitation, violence, and forced conversion left a deep scar on the history of Indian-European relations, contributing to centuries of colonial rule and its associated injustices. While Vasco da Gama is often remembered as a pioneering explorer who opened up new trade routes to India, it is essential to recognize the dark side of his legacy. His expedition was marred by atrocities, including exploitation, violence, forced conversion, and the massacre at Calicut. It is crucial to acknowledge and remember these atrocities, as we reflect on the history of exploration and colonization, ensuring that the full story is told, and that we learn from the mistakes of the past. Hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to subscribe.